Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wellsi's Workshop. My name's Ian, and today, well, this evening if I'm honest, we're starting a project that, well, it's a bit different. So we're making this for a company. So I'm not going to just say what it is yet. I'm going to leave it for a little bit later in the video, because if I show you this pile of wood, you're going to go, no way. For example, yeah, you're going to go, not a chance. Not a chance. So, right, I'm just going to look through it. I have got some of the pieces, so if I see something else that I think is better amongst the piles of offcuts that I've got, then I'll be swapping and changing a little bit. But essentially I've got four pieces I need to glue up, and I need to glue them up this evening so they're ready to work on tomorrow. So that's the score. Right, I'm going to pop you down somewhere and I'm going to route through and fetch you back when I've got the selected four. Right, I ain't got much time either, so I've got to pick up my son from work, so I've got to get my boots into gear. Right, I'll fetch you back shortly. Right. Right. There, I've got one extra. So I have one extra there. I choose through now, look at the grain, and see which I like the best. Quarter sawn is my preference, but unfortunately some of the quarter sawn that I have isn't to a standard I'd like, so I don't want to use it. So yeah, I'm going to go through and grade this now, and then put the ones that I feel I like the most into a pile and glue them up, and they can be going off tonight. I'm going to use PU glue. I was going to use PVA, but it's going to go cold tonight, and I don't want it coming apart in the morning when I'm working on it, which I'll come to a little bit more about that tomorrow. Something a bit different with this. This is why I'm interested. I'm just looking at where I could put the camera. Interested why I want you to see it. Right, so we've got that glued up now. We've got it over at the fire. Over at the fire there. So that's going to go off tonight, and then we can work on it tomorrow. I'll just spin you back around. That's them panels we glued up earlier today. So they're going out on Monday. Neil's going to be working on them tomorrow when he's back from a project in the morning. Right, I'm clocking off. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Right, these linings are going out this morning, and one thing I wanted to do before they go out the workshop is just show you how we've got them straight. Let's turn the camera around. see the nails just loading the van now. And this is the other side of the lining as well. So what we've used is thin piece of plywood. So that's 3/8 ply, just trimmed slightly down, and each board has a groove in it that's taken the plywood. So the plywood is acting like a false tongue. So what we've done is one timber will go that way, the other timber will go that way, so they're against each other and they'll pull each other straight. So as you can see, they're all nice and straight. So that is how you pull hinge timbers back that are being glued up, pull them back straight from being curved. And also in some of the comments people have mentioned about the tension in the timber. You can use that to your advantage, which is what we've done this time. As I say, we've used them against each other in tension, so they'll pull each other back straight. And yeah, and there's proof that it works. Brilliant. Right, I'll crack on. Right, okay, so what we've done is planed up the block. We've taken all the corners off and I've found the centre and I've screwed the faceplate on. So the faceplate is going to go on the chuck of the lathe. So we'll set the camera up and I'll get it set up in the lathe. I've got to set up the tool rest and make sure that everything's safe. So I'll crack on with that and then fetch you back. So I've wound it onto the spindle in the chuck. I've got the centre point on the end of the timber there. So I'm going to just move the tool rest over. Now the tool rest is going to be really tight to the timber, so we're going to have to really look at that before we set off. I might have to try and take a bit of waste out. Put the tool rest somewhere near that edge, take some waste out and then move it over, so we'll have a look at that. But just clamp everything up. So right, we've picked a scale of 1 to 17.5. That works out at a comfortable size, not too big, not too small. The Goldilocks size. That's a nice way of putting it. The Goldilocks size. Right, I'm set up just about. So I've got my face protection, my mask, and I've got my chisels behind me ready. So the timber's set up in the lathe. So I'm going to take out the waste now. I'm going to take out the waste with the gouge and see where we get to. I might be able to move then the tool rest a little bit further across. So you can see I'm going to be struggling to get it all the way to the edge of the timber there. Just purely for the size of the timber in the lathe. So I am actually pushing it a little bit, but we'll see where we get to. Right, let's get going. You can see I'm getting there now slowly. We want a bit more of the waste out and then we're getting there. I'm going to carry on a little bit further and then we can start looking at getting it sanded up, curve the top off, we'll put a new top on and we'll put a new bottom on. So, but I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute. Something I've been asked before about where do you look to see how much you're taking off, and obviously you've got to keep an eye on your chisel, where your chisel is, but it's that top edge there which tells you how much you're taking off. And if I turn the lathe on now, you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to carry on and get a bit more taken out, a bit more waste taken out, and then we'll come back once it's totally evened off into a cylinder shape. Right, let's carry on. Right, I've just run the sandpaper over what I've done. I've taken all the waste out that I want to do. I'm going to take a little bit more out and I'll show you why in a minute. So to show up any imperfections that are in the timber or what we've created with the gouge, run the sandpaper over and just take that top layer off, and then you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to spin the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. So you can just see there, there's an ever so slight, just taking a little bit much out there and a little bit much out there. Not a lot, I'm talking like a millimetre, 1.5 mm in depth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set off at one side and gently grade it back again and try and take them out. Right, so we've taken the meat out, we've graded it, we've sanded it. So I'm going to show you how close we've got it. Pretty much bob on, which I'm happy about. So we took out that mil and a half, we graded it out and we sanded it up. So I'm going to cut the top out and then we're going to take it out of the lathe. I'm going to take it to the customer because they want to see it before we go any further. So right, I'm just going to make the top of the piece, which will actually be the bottom, a little bit nicer, a little bit more pleasant on the eye, and then I'm going to take it out to the customer and they can have a look at it. Right, so what we've done there is create the bottom. Right, I'm going to cut in on this edge against the chuck. I placed a mark, I can't get through to the customer, so I placed a mark there. I'm just going to cut back ever so slightly because I know my screws are in that section there. I'm going to cut in so far, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go and have some dinner, and hopefully the customer will contact me. Right, I'm always wary at this point of how far to go. There's still enough meat on there, yeah, I can take a bit more out, but yeah, we're getting to that point where the integrity of that purchase, the integrity of the purchase there is going to be compromised with how far we go with that groove. So if I get you right up close, you can see how much I've taken out, and there is a bit of meat left on there, and I can go a bit further, but we're at that point now where we need to start thinking about, at some point we're going to take it out and cut that stub off. So yeah, a bit further and then we'll stop. Right, my nerves have got the better of me. That's as far as I'm going. I don't want that coming out at me. So you can see in there I've got it down to probably about 50mm, something like that. Right, okay. So I've just got back from seeing the customer, and we've had a discussion, and yeah, I need to reduce the height a little bit more. You can see there where we threw a few ideas around, and we've gone for the 17.5, which is on that mark there. That's the centre line, well, just drawn on roughly. Centre line for the hole to be drilled. So I'm gonna create that groove below that line now. Just want to put a bit more of a round on that top edge and the bottom edge as well. Right, I'm going to crack on with that. I'm going to put my pencil mark on there now and start her up. The line to work to. Right, so the further I go down this path of cutting into this timber, it's going to start getting whip on it and it's going to come out or it's going to break. So I've got to be really careful about how I cut this now. I'm going to go a little bit further and I'm going to cut the rest off by hand, I think, because I don't want it coming out of me. That will hurt if that comes out. Right, I'm going to put a shine on this before I take it out of the lathe. It's easier to do now than when it's out. Right, so the reason I've done that, let's take this mask off. The reason I've done that, there's natural oils in the timber, in the sawdust from obviously being part of the timber. When that gets warm onto the moving timber in the lathe, it comes out and you get a nice, really nice buffed finish. I'm going to cut it off and have a bit more sanding to do on the bottom, and I will buff it up again, but it won't be in the lathe. Right, I'm going to have a quick brew and then crack on. Right, so I have the cheese iron. This is going to sit in there. Like that. So I'm going to get this oiled now and then we're done. So, right, put this iron back in its sleeve. Put somewhere safe. Right. Yep, so when we went out to see the customer, we had a discussion about should we put a plinth on the oak cheese wheel or should we have it on a imitated cheese board, or should it just be the cheese on its own? So it was left a little bit open and a decision wasn't really made there and then. Since then, the clients asked if we can create a cheese board. So I have done, and they've asked us to put our maker's mark on, which was really nice of them. So I set to marking out the maker's mark on a cheese board that we've made. You've seen me playing stuff up many times over the past few videos, so I didn't really see the point of showing you how we planed up this. I'm not going to explain what we're going to do, I'm going to show you as we're doing it. That's going to be the best way. Right, so I've pushed on a little bit without the camera on. Actually, I forgot to put the camera on, but yeah, a bit embarrassing. But right, so we've got the hole drilled in the board for a peg that's going to go through into the cheese. So I'm going to spin it around. I'm going to show you everything we've done, everything I've done. So you can see the hole in the board for the peg. That's the hole in it's just off centre actually. I didn't want it in the centre because I can move it on the board into place. I've had to sand my marks off, so I know roughly where I need to be with that. And there's the maker's mark. So yeah, let's get this into place. What time are we on now? It's 11:45. I might just get all this done for dinner, and sand it up and ready to go. If I can get a coat of oil on before dinner, I will do. I was going to do a delivery this today. There isn't any chance of that actually. So right, let me get this together and then see where we get to. It's going to be the best bet. I'm going to get some glue onto this peg. Just going to pop a bit in this hole as well. So I've drilled a 19mm hole in this, and I've got a 19mm peg, and I've just eased it ever so slightly. So I'm not going to put that face down. Right. And the reason I didn't want to put it down is because I want to mark it again, so I can sit that cheese onto that now. So now it's got glue. Right. Just working out how that will look there. Quite happy with how that sits. I'm going to take it over near the fire and let that set now. I quite like the idea of that being placed there. This on slight angle. This is the cheese iron, which is what you'd use to core out a section of cheese. So I'm quite happy with that now. Wow, I've just found out who the VIP guest is. Wow. I don't know what to say only. Wow. Yeah, you're gonna have to watch the end of the video on this one. Wow. We've spent a lot of time. We've also been making other bits and bobs for this same client for this project, and this is one. It's folded up at the minute, but it's an easel that's going to hold a presentation stone. So the presentation stone will go in that top section there. There's a bit more work to finish on that yet, but yeah, so it's been a busy week. Right, it's the morning that we're going to do the delivery of the easel that we've built. I've put it in its display position. the iron out. It's upside down. And that's the mark I put in, maker's mark. It's my name. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get these loaded, I'm going to get them into the van and get away. Well, what a complete surprise and a real honour to be invited to the official opening of the cheese campus at Butler's Farmhouse Cheese. There's me on the left. I attended with the managing director of JTH Construction. These guys are the company who got me involved in this project. His Majesty the King arrived early afternoon and was taken on a tour around the new state-of-the-art factory facility. At the end of the tour, His Majesty was asked to unveil the stone that marked the official opening for Butler's Farmhouse Cheese new factory facility. I think the young aspiring cheesemakers did a really good job on presenting the gift to His Majesty the King. Still can't believe that we've had the honour of crafting this piece that was to be gifted to His Majesty King Charles. And with that, that is the end of this video. I'd like to say a big thank you to Gillian, Matthew and Daniel at Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses, being trusted to craft a gift for such an important day as a royal visit is something that I'll always be proud of. I want to also say thank you to James at JTH Construction for being introduced into this project and the chance to work on such a build, from the Iroca doors, the big sliding Iroca door that we produced earlier this month, to the large green oak structure that is part of the office and large meeting area that's on site at Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses. It's been a real privilege to play a part in something so special. So there we are, something really special, something I'll never forget. And on that bombshell, we will see you next Saturday. Have a good week, everybody.